Hey, sorry.
We're waiting for the boss.
I got prosecutor talking to me in the hallway for a minute.
You're up, Commissioner.
All right. This is a joint session with City of Pocatello and Bannock County to talk about what's going on both sides of the border.
That'd be great, Commissioner. What we have here today, Merrill Coyle, the Public Works Engineer, City of Pocatello, Jeff Mansfield, Public Works City Engineer, Skylar Allen with our Senior Utility Engineer, and Brent McLean, our Planning Director. And we have a couple of items that we'd like to go through. First, I always like to bring gifts, so I brought you the gift in front of you there to start out. As development is increasing and issues, and I don't know how many people's gone there at Foothill, North Main Extension, and Gathy Drive, where we have 3 stop signs within 50 feet of each other, and the way that intersection is. We've looked at this since 2006 when the Holy Spirit Catholic Church purchased the property and was going to build a school up on that bench and then annexed into the city of Pocatello. And where this is in the county, the intersection, the line is a little bit off on the bottom, but I've made the circles there where Foothill Boulevard, where I worked with Linda Taggart years ago, and we got Gathy Road and Foothill Boulevard names changed a little bit to start this plan moving forward, as I have in the red marker there. So I guess what I'm here and the group on this topic is to put this on officially on the radar, and with development starting, the less desirable intersection, and that to see if there's discussion and commitments on a partnership with development, the city and the county to maybe get this extension of Foothill Boulevard punched through, and the end of Gathy there, those 5 stop signs, get rid of 2 of them, and cul-de-sac Gathy Drive, which is in the county also. So that's what we had a meeting last night at our planning and zoning. The preliminary plat for the next division of the development, where part of this road would be extended again, was approved to move on to our city council. And so then getting this meeting in there to, like I said, to get a partnership. The utilities don't need to be extended into this road, so looking at to put all of this on the developer, and an issue that's been here for years and years it's hard, even with our ordinances and stuff, to say it has to punch through all the way through with developer take care of it. And anyway, I'll open that up and for more questions or there from the commissioners or others as we discuss this and the plan that has I've talked to many different commissioners in the past. I've also talked to public works directors in the past, and I think I brought this up once with Hal a while back and stuff too. But it's got to a point now. It's probably officially time to start putting this on the radar and see if we can get this done.
What's the cost estimate for that road?
That road and everything, I've got a contractor doing some quotes off there, but the ballpark right now is probably $1 million by the time you put the grading in, the cul-de-sac of Gathy Road and the curb and gutter on one side and paving it.
I'll have a notepad in there somewhere. I got it. Bottom of the pile.
Last place you looked.
And those costs can come down if we can figure out, like I said, if it's not, there's still hard costs, but the soft costs, if there's a way through our division with city legal and county legal and that to use our forces like we did on Olympus a few years back, widened Olympus Road and got it over to where Northgate was and widened it. So there are some different variables that could be inputted if that was able to work a partnership like paving, using some of the trucks, some other equipment and labor that way to assist in some of the other efforts.
But right now, it's in the county, all of it.
Part of it's in the city and part of it's in the county.
And in that red line?
Yeah, there's
The
the
other
pink
red
line
line?
right there.
Pink
where
line,
the
okay.
Red line, that's the city, that's boundary there. And then the city owns on the other side of Craft Road, we own where our street and our water have a laydown area. And then you own Gaethie all the way from the word Gaethie, all the way to North Main Extension. That one line, as far as I can see with the legal descriptions, you're on the opposite side of Gaethie than what it shows right there. You're more like where the sewer line is. So the whole intersection of Gaethie and Foothill and Craft, or Gaethie and
Yeah.
Craft is in the county, and then North Main Extension is the city. So that's where it's kind of very unique, where, you know, a lot of it's in the county, the other half's in the city. I'd say half and half probably there. And then we have development with an existing issue and development that the developers are saying, we see the need for this road, but we don't see the need that we should be having to pay all of it. Our utilities aren't there, nothing else is in there. This doesn't just benefit ours. So I said it's in a unique situation. That's why we're here for this topic in front of you.
But as soon as we pave it, and then they start developing it, is the plan to annex?
I know that Roto-Rooter, that is correct. Roto-Rooter is making some changes. I think Tristan's is aware that they have bought the Vortec property out on Piedmont, and they've got a plan to move forward out there. So that's their Roto-Rooter plan. And then my understanding is they're working on development plans over the next couple of years and potentially would like to bring that into the city of Pocatello. So it would, within the next 2-3 years, it's very possible that would go into the city of Pocatello in its entirety.
Okay. Well, it's something that I'd have to visit with Kyle and stuff with too, before we'd even move forward on it and see.
We were going to have a meeting with our Deputy Public Works Director, and with Kyle out there, and have some discussions with him too, but we, of course, wanted to make sure we were
Okay.
had you guys at least informed and didn't pull the rug out from under you, or whatever you want to call it there. So at least you knew what was happening.
Communication goes a long ways with us.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Just as a side note, BTPO has done an analysis on this intersection here with Craft Road and North Main, and this has been identified as an intersection that's needs a lot of work, and really cul-de-sacing Gaethie Road would do a lot to help the movements and the safety at that intersection.
Okay.
You will see that this intersection and that they're trying to get it into the long range, the 2050 long range plan. The one they're working on right now this is one of those. It's in that long range plan of needing some work.
Okay.
This would kind of be phase one of that, I think.
Yeah, we are working on grants as a city that we may come and ask for some, supporting letters or whatever. But if we can move forward with the grants and are successful, we would get a signal in right there too, with all the grain trucks from Great Western that comes in. That's the other thing is Great Western Malting. When those trains come in, the trucks, they get one or two of them there. That
They're blocking Gaethie off
that
completely.
intersection's done because it's so close and that you can't get through it.
I come off South 5th every day.
So you know right where you go there too, right?
Service station's there, the truck's coming off there now.
Yeah,
I can sit there for 15 minutes.
Yep.
exactly. You're right. We got some. This isn't the only one. You're right. So that's it. We do have, along with the developing engineer and what the city of Pocatello's done, the design work I would say we're probably close to about 80%, 75 to 80% of it designed, as I've explained to you too. So we've been working this way gradually, but it's just trying to get to, once we get to the construction of it and implementing and getting through.
Well, there are dollars available right now, I mean, both state and federal, that keeps coming to our roadways, so.
We should have said the mayor would have been here too, but he had some scheduled plans already to be out of town for the week, or he would have been here.
Well, the meeting will last 20 minutes less.
So anyway, I just wanted to make sure we there. He's fully aware we're here and understands this intersection also, what we've explained to him.
Little questions? No.
Real quick, Commissioner, as a note, we've had a fair amount of interest in this area. It is a nice relief to hear Merrill say that Roto-Rooter wants to leave this property.
Yeah.
Because it has been a code enforcement problem for us for some time. They've made some efforts to clean things up and become more organized, but knowing that will be moving out will spark even more interest in this particular area. Roto-Rooter has been somewhat of an eyesore, which then causes people to just be cautious about whether or not they act on properties here.
Yeah.
That will become a trigger now for us from the planning standpoint here. It would be our recommendation that if this does move forward, we would recommend that the city formally push for annexation further up Craft Road. So that's for a future discussion, but just be aware of there is interest here more than just occasional. So.
Okay. Very good. If there's no questions there, like I said, if we could follow back, if you want to get with Kyle and that, and maybe I could retouch out and see what our next steps is. Like I said, I'd like to keep this on the docket of the areas that we have here of discussion for today, and it's the same topics that I gave you in December, so that you had aware of it.
I have a question, Merrill, real quick.
Yes.
Do you know if the Sant property has been sold since they're moving? Do you know?
No, it's not. In fact, they are working on some development plans, I believe, but for doing something there and then possible sale in that. I do know 4J is going to remain over there. That Roto-Rooter's moving, but 4J is staying.
Okay.
Over more on the triangle that we would be trading property with them to build the road through their property. Says there's a triangle piece, you really can't see it. There's a triangle piece right here that we acquired back in, I think it was 2007 or so, from ITD. It was a remnant of the old highway that I acquired from them as we were moving through this with the Holy Spirit Catholic Church, and then the economy crashed and they changed their plans, so that kind of died for a while. But that would be our property swap to get the property to go through that property. So we do have that all kind of laid out and workable too for the design. So,
And I just want to give a shout out to Merrill really quick, because I mean, he's worked really hard with these developers and also these different property owners to foster these relationships and kind of broker this negotiation and this deal to really make this happen. And so I want to give a shout out to him on for doing that. So
thank you. Okay, so then I will we'll make contact in that, and I'll keep this on our docket maybe within the next 30 to 60 days.
Yeah, I'd like to bring Kyle in, especially the commissioner and stuff, and have him explain his priorities and where we're at with the county as a whole,
Okay.
too,
Perfect.
and see where these things are on his hit list at the same time.
The next topic we would like to present is the county ends up with properties within the corporate boundaries of the city of Pocatello. And whether it's they didn't pay the taxes or however they acquire them. And some of them are kind of less desirable properties. And in the past, we've, here in the last couple of years, we've had some issues that people have bought it for like, $500 for these remnant pieces of property. And then they're coming in and trying to develop them, where one of them, for instance, they'll be able to do it. They're putting in 9 townhomes on over 15% slope, but it's right at the top of Bannock Park. And it would have been nice amenity in that, just to continue to park up that, that, I think it was like a half an acre or 3/4 of an acre is all it was. So bringing that, we've worked with Brant and Jeff, Public Works Director and that here, on identifying some of these areas. And we would like to know the best way to get these in front of you, and maybe go again through legal, the processes and that. I think from entity to entity on some of these things, that you can quit claim them or deed them to the city, or vice versa, on some of this stuff, and try to clean these areas up. There are quite a few of them that make sense with kind of roadways and different things that overlap, to clean up some of our parcels that way.
We're in the process of doing our comprehensive plan right now, and so I think a lot of these got identified during that process. So,
And so, like I said, I don't know the best way to handle that, and thought we'd bring that to you guys to put that on your radar too. How we wanted, or who you wanted us to, we can go through Hal there, and with Brent and that, we can put those together to get them into each piece individually, to bring forth to the commission to look at each one, or how would you like to see that presented?
Are you saying that we own these properties?
Yeah, the county owns them. A lot of them are like remnants of old roadways, people that didn't pay their taxes because they're on the steep hillside that really shouldn't be developed at all. From my point of view, if we're trying to keep the hillsides open space and that, we've run into issues where others go, well, I own the property. Well, they're kind of landlocked too, with other
And
people
they
that
don't
own the
have access to
properties, and they don't have access, but they're really, well, that's my property, I want to build a house on it. And I don't think they quite understand the engineering and the money that would go into building a house on that steep slope.
How many parcels are you talking about?
I'm looking at probably 15 of them that we've marked out on this map.
Probably be good to get us a list of.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering, if how you wanted, we can get that list.
That'd probably be a good way to start.
The parcel numbers and go through how.
I'm gonna have Brian go ahead and go through the process that we are
That you-
required to follow.
Okay,
If it's county property, I mean, we can figure out once we get it, what it is and what you want to do, if you want like a quick claim deed, or if you want to buy it, or anything like that, so.
okay. And it's the same-
Entity to entity, we can do that. Correct? Government entity to government entity, we can,
I believe so. I'm gonna refresh
otherwise,
my memory on that.
otherwise we have to put it up for bid
Auction.
and sell it at auction.
Correct, yep, because governmental entities are other municipalities, and, that's a different situation. like
Yeah,
you're
so,
saying,
just so.
So it's the same as the city's property process
Yeah.
too then, so.
Yeah.
So what we will do then, unless you have any more to add to it on this, Brent, we will put this into a list and a little better map on each one. of
Maybe
the
what we
shape.
could do is create an individual map for each one.
Yes.
And with the description on it, and present that.
And then we'll set an official meeting to be able to take action or whatever.
And what the street address is, so if we wanted to look
A
at.
lot of them don't have street addresses.
An estimate.
Yeah, definitely. We'll give you the map so you know right where it's at.
Well, honestly, if you'll get us a map and where it's at and give it to Christie,
Yeah,
she's the one that usually sets up when we put these properties up for auction. She knows if we put them out for bid, she knows the processes. And so Christie Davenport in our office.
And when Christie goes through that process, Merrill, this was an item I was going to comment relative to Commissioner Moser, that list is always sent to our office,
okay.
and we become her second set of eyes of what makes sense. And we have identified probably 4 in the 3.5 years that I've been there, when she sent those lists that we've actually pulled away. And just that list comprises of properties all over the county, not just the city of Pocatello.
Right.
And there was a piece that was off of Grant, was the little loop that goes up behind Grant, behind the
I know which one you're
the
talking about.
countertop.
Yeah, I think.
There was a piece up in there that ended up selling that was perhaps less than desirable. I know that the Ammon Park issue became an issue when maybe we should have been having additional conversations. So if you can identify those, it'll make it easier for us to work with the commission and not all of a sudden have the city blindsided, like, well, why didn't you say something to us? Because
Yeah.
we've had that conversation before.
Exactly.
And to be honest, we weren't aware that we probably should have been paying closer attention. So
That's
So
okay.
we'll get you the individual
Yeah.
maps, we'll get them to Christie, and then we'll get them sent over to you too, Hal, at the same time.
send them to Christie. She
Just-
will
she'll just
send them
forward
to
them to you?
us. Just
Okay.
single point of communication will be great, Carl.
Perfect. That's what, like I said, that I wanted to know what you guys wanted to see and how you wanted to see us proceed that way.
No, we'd just assume that the county doesn't have parcels all over the place.
Our preference would be to, yeah, we have.
Are landlocked and everything else.
We have
that
a
don't-
couple of them in income that are that way that we're still trying to figure out what we should do with. And there's a couple probably in Downey, and there's
Yeah.
adjacent to Lava. And yeah,
Well, yeah, and there's a few of them that we've identified that if we don't have them, we'd just like you to make sure you guys keep them because they're ones that I think are necessary to keep into the public hands just because of other issues and stuff like that.
well, case in point, we have, I believe there's 3 parcels on Barton Road
Yes,
that are on the west side of the interstate crossing that go down towards the cemetery. And they're just rights of way.
yeah.
But the city of Pocatello maintains those rights of way. So why do we have them on our tax rolls as us owning them, when in reality, the city of Pocatello should have those parcels.
No, I think it's a good idea to
have
clean things up.
Complete jurisdiction and not have any quote-unquote county liability because we're the property owner, so.
Yeah.
And those are ones that are already, that we have identified on the map right
And I
now.
use those because they're very easy to describe.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Okay. The next one, we've been in front of you before, and it's the sewer discussion, sewer and septic tank out on South Fifth. Basically, from the interchange to interchange as you go out towards Century. And Skylar and I and others have looked at these areas too, and as Hal said, we were talking as you came in, you know, ways that that connection to get that started to be annexed down through there, because we believe through that corridor that with our utilities in into South Fifth and that too, probably should be annexed through there. The BLM's on the other side, not too far up the hill. But yet, we do have some septic issues out there that have been identified. We also have the wells that are out there they're not as good of wells as in other parts of town. And that. So we wanted to come and get in front of you to see, with the 2 commissioners that heard us before, are we still on track to look at that, maybe ask for the county to work with us on some rules and stuff as that develops, and the income, you know, we did there. So Skylar, if you want to talk a little bit more, I know that this is kind of with the utilities, more on your end of any other questions and that. We wanted to make sure where we are we moving in the same direction, and then we are in the same direction.
Just as a little bit of background, that area has been designated by DEQ as a high nitrate priority area.
Yeah.
So,
That's the kind of the root of our concern about septic tanks going in there. And as that, you know, Merrill pointed out, that a portion of that we have the sewer line down South Fifth, and it does extend on some portions of that, connects basically the properties that are directly adjacent to South Fifth. But as we have additional development further up the hill, particularly, that becomes a little bit of a challenge when it's in the county. they don't necessarily want to connect to the public services. And so what we're hoping for is some cooperation on how we guide development in there to try to encourage people to connect onto the public utilities for the sanitary and the water protection reason on the sewer side, and also for the reliability of their water supply on the other side. So that's
We would just need to enter into a development agreement, and same process that we started with the city of Lava, and just get a services agreement in place so that we have other teeth when someone comes in and says, this is what we want to do. Because it's in the county jurisdiction, you know, they can go do their development, and it continues to exacerbate the problem that Skylar just described. And if we have that services agreement, it helps us. South Fifth Corridor is going to look like the city, and it's still, we have 5 developments right now down the South Fifth Corridor, okay? That said, they've all been into the city of Pocatello. They are all going to connect to water and sewer for all intents and purposes. They are developing like a city, but because we don't have a jump from the west side of the interstate across to South Fifth for annexation, they've signed formal annexation agreements in the future, which is part of the legal process. Everything that we're doing is following state statute, county ordinance, and then developing according to a city standard. But it leaves a level of difficulty when people come and say, this is what I want to do, and we know full well that it would be better served as a city than as a county. And so that's what they're describing to you is coming.
Yeah.
On the
There's
South
nothing
Fifth
in our
Corridor.
ordinances right now that says that people have to, if they're within so many feet of a city sewer or service.
There's nothing that's absolute, but the general supposition is that if you're within 300 feet, okay, and that is basically the distance by state statute, I believe, from manhole to manhole, okay? What happens is at a certain point, the city's not ready to move. They don't formally deny annexation, but they go into an agreement that says at such a point, at such and such a time, when annexation occurs, you won't fight it. So they sign the letter, and when they need to, the city they go through, they have all of their T's crossed and I's dotted, document is placed, annexation occurs. And so Merrill has been very proactive at working with people. When we send those people to the city, they don't necessarily formally deny, they just say not at this time. Get the letter in place, and we're working together to get that South Fifth Corridor.
Yeah.
But there's some things that Skylar brought up.
One of the things that has really hindered the annexation is that they're not adjacent to the city limits, and so that's one of the requirements, is that they have to be adjacent. And we've annexed a large portion of property along the railroad tracks and the old river bottom there that the city owns, which has helped to create some connectivity through that area. But there are a few properties that are prohibiting all of them from being eligible for annexation.
Okay.
And we've been in conversations with some of those property owners and seeing what their interest is in annexation. But that's really the hindrance, is you have that adjacency is not available. And so, you can get it from the end and from the top, and but what we're missing is that middle section. And we're taking steps to get there, but there's just a couple more steps we need to take to really make it happen.
But it literally, within the next 3 to 5 years, from what we see in our office, South Fifth Corridor is going to look like City of Pocatello development, not county development, but yet it's in our jurisdiction.
Well,
And to make more sense to the taxpayer, it really should be in the city, not in the
Yeah.
county.
well, the Gilbert project out there in Ingham.
Should be in the city.
It should
Yes.
have been part of city making.
Yes. Okay.
So we can work on that development agreement. That's a great idea. If that's okay, we'll work with Hal. We'll start getting something drafted up.
So the best that it's been described to me, Brent, you may be able to clarify. There's been some court cases that have come back, clear back like 2000,
Right.
that counties have subrogated their authority to another jurisdiction, and the patrons challenged it all the way to the Supreme Court and said, no, you do not
Right.
relinquish your enumerated powers regardless.
Yeah.
That said, if we have a development agreement, we can then somewhat blur those lines, blend it so that
Yeah.
when there's input that the city has, it allows the commission to make decisions accordingly, that might not be just the absolute of our ordinance. Does that make sense?
That
So
makes-
that's what we need to
that makes
basically.
perfect
Because it's part of our area of impact.
Yeah.
Correct.
And because it falls within our area of impact, we can get into agreements between the county and the city to establish specific development standards for that area.
Yep. And that's where we.
But like you
go.
said, we never give up
Yeah, you still
You
have.
can't-
our
Yeah,
authority.
you still have the authority, but we have an agreement between the city and the county of how that development will happen.
We're dealing with lava right now.
Yeah,
Area of city impact, that's a good idea, but
yeah,
the border is the border.
that's right.
Yeah. And that, yeah, it's a great thing, because Hal's correct. Again, back to the Holy Spirit Catholic Church, when that came in, they had the annexation moving forward. However, they wanted to get a jump start on the grading. So I worked with Tim Shirtliff because of that court cases that had just gone through a few years prior. And the grading, all the grading permits and everything had to go through the county. And we went through that and everything, and then once we hit a certain point, then it was annexed, then we rotated the development permits and everything else into the city. So fully aware of exactly, I've been firsthand on that issue, so.
So I guess in parts of that, out of city fees for water, sewer, that becomes a concern for these people too.
Well, the fees are, and everybody that we've talked to and the developments that are coming in want to be hooked to the city utilities.
Well, it's
There. So the
Makes a
way
lot of
that,
sense.
yeah, what that is like Hal said, we do an agreement that is recorded with the property for annexation. It also parallels state laws with, for annexation. If they are tied to a utility that's a city and they've already pretty much committed to not fight annexation, but we take it one step further and get that and record that with the property.
But they have to pay the out-of-city rates.
I'm getting there. So the capacity fees are exactly the same as if they were paid in city of Pocatello to hook up and everything. All that's the same. But they are, for the most part, it's 1.5 times the rate. So
Which
I
they're not
think
paying taxes.
1.33 times the other sewers. I mean, they're not quite 1.5, but they are. We just say it because it's easier. So yeah, if I'm paying $1 for 1,000 gallons, you're paying $1.50 per 1,000 for the consumption and that at the time in the monthly bills.
We had a situation, I sit on the health board too,
Okay.
and we had a situation out in Chubbuck where city of Chubbuck, because this resident was gonna build, it was close enough that they should have hooked up to city of Chubbuck. $45,000 is what they wanted to charge him to hook up. It's not reasonable,
Yeah.
you know, because he has the potential, he was just putting one house in, he has the potential for more back there, so they want to charge him for the potential of all the others.
The process we follow for charging capacity fees is those get paid at the time of building.
Okay, okay.
Per-
We as a health
Based
department
on
says
meters
no,
and
just put your
meters.
septic system in then.
Not
Yeah.
any quote unquote potential.
Right, so then if the property does divide in the future and additional units are added, then those units would pay capacity
When they come in for their permitting.
for their
Yeah.
building.
Okay.
And it's the same as the same process as our own citizens would pay there. So, yeah, we're not trying to pay for the whole system in one permit. Is what it sounded like.
Well, it was, we had a discussion, put it that way.
We heard about that one.
I wrote the letter.
So, but I think it, like I said, everybody that we talked to, now, like I said, they're building that 18 complex, or is it 18 units? 9 on each side or whatever, Gate City.
Yes.
Just barely outside was one too, that within the city and that there, and, you know, with the 3-inch meter and the same as thing to serve it and everything there. So it's a Dykeman is another one just recently. Hargraves is looking again, so we've got those agreements in place and stuff.
And on these, where the building permit for these is through the county, we have to
Do this
track that
agreement.
just a little bit different and just be in coordination. But they have to get the water meter installed. And so that's essentially the trigger point, that we require the payment of those fees before the water meter is installed.
Correct.
Okay?
Anything else?
No, I was just going to use Peterbilt as an example.
Peterbilt?
So Peterbilt came and did an expansion and a nice development of their small facility, right?
Yep.
In that process, we reached out to the building department and said, we understand that annexation application has been applied for. Do you want to take this building permit? And they had city legal check, and they said, no, because it's still your jurisdiction, you will need to follow through with the building permit.
Yep.
The only reason that we had the big question mark was we were trying to determine who had jurisdiction relative to fire. That was what prompted all of those conversations in that one. And therein lies the biggest issue moving South Fifth Corridor forward is who has fire jurisdiction and who has primacy in regards to fighting fires. Our preference would be to see the city have that responsibility. But at this point,
Yeah, it's the
it is what it is, so.
Portland Valley.
Port Valley has that
It's
jurisdiction.
Porterville.
Yeah. They come to income city limits.
Yes.
So it is. I know that every time we get an annexation out there and we do stuff, I send an email out to all of those guys so they can adjust their boundaries and so forth. Well, if there's no will work then and working that, looks like you might already have a template with LABA that we can kind of start with possibly, so.
No,
No, you don't like that template?
we did never develop a template. It became too contentious between us and the city.
Well, we're
not gonna do
Pocatello's-
that.
Pocatello's very easy to get along with as long as you do it my way. That's what
So's
you're
Bannock
saying.
County.
That's what happened with us in Lavin. They didn't like the way I wanted it done my way. So
I want to say, you know, working with the county, and I've been working with the county for, I'd say, almost 30 years in capacities and stuff, and I've been really happy for the most part going through. Hal's been exceptional, trying to keep things on the radar and that communication, as you talked about earlier. So, which brings us to the last one, which is the easy one. But I also know, talking to past commissioners and that, is the name of Fairgrounds Road. We have development now that's been annexed into Pocatello and Chubbuck and development that's looking there. Before I start having to address, I would like to get ahead of that one also. And I know that that's kind of contentious for you and something
Not at all.
tend to the, well, you want it changed.
Fairgrounds is in Downey, Idaho right now.
Exactly, right.
And everybody says fairgrounds up here. It's not the fairgrounds, that's the
Right.
event center.
So we want an event center road.
Event Center. Well, that's the name, is how to come up with it. I know there's a developer that's got some proposals that they're concepts right now. I don't know if we want to,
what's the
Ask
name
them.
what's the name of the road proposed to the north side of Venture Way?
that is right now currently Fairgrounds to also. We
Going
just
north?
continue to cross.
There's no addresses on
But there's no addresses on it yet. The other one is if it comes down through, but I'm trying to create an intersection, is Gold Star Drive, which is the Gold Star Family Monument. But I also know you guys' desire to have something tied to the Wellness Center. And that's why I'd like to get ahead of it too, to say if this group can come up with that name that works that way, let's go for it before we have to start addressing.
John Road.
John Road.
I was gonna name it Huff Parkway. So.
Rocky Road?
So,
Yeah, Rocky
yeah,
Road.
we could put some names together on our side, if you want to put some names together on their side, and then we can put it on, and then we can go through, because there's also a process to go through there. The only one that we might have issues with, that I'm not 100% sure, is the Armory and how they address that, but that's going through the process to change their,
It's owned by the county, so.
yeah. That's what I'm saying.
That
I don't-
property is owned by us.
Yes, yeah, and they lease it from you,
Yeah.
so.
I may be speaking out of turn, but there's been some issues that I've been involved with for future development of what's going on with ITD, I-15, walkways,
Yeah, the
parkways,
the
et cetera.
greenway in that.
One of the items that was discussed is that long-term planning is that fairway, which is shown on our map as fairway coming down until it connects with Fairgrounds Road, it zigzags through.
Yeah.
And my recommendation is that at some point, fairway comes behind the tent structure, and the road that we're discussing, Fairgrounds, comes and intersects
Extends.
down in that corner, so it bypasses the entire wellness complex, and that internal road just becomes an internal road for the wellness complex function. So
Yes.
just be aware that there's conversation that direction, nothing absolute, but from a long-term planning standpoint for the wellness complex, that would be
the armory.
our office's recommendation to direct the commission.
And we are on the same page as you on that side. Our traffic supervisor's a little hesitant with the traffic and that, but I think it'll take care of itself with that signal. And I've been in contact with the Greenway and there too to talk and make sure that we, as they plan that path, to keep that in mind, because we don't want to be crossing a busy road multiple times if we
Right.
can design it in one way.
Which we had that
Well,
conversation.
We're in the conversation with them, and actually, we're filing a grant.
Okay,
For a grant
perfect.
to continue that path up and over through.
The
So
west property.
into our other
and,
path
yeah,
that's already
west
on the
onto yours.
facility.
The same developers on our side now that's there, we've talked to them about, instead of putting a sidewalk, traditional sidewalk in, to put curb and gutter on the side of Fairground Road on their development. But behind there, there'd be a green strip and then possibly a 10-foot path there that would also link to create another loop, for walking and stuff.
on east side or west side?
That would be on the west side of Fairgrounds Road
Okay.
that the city has now in
Okay.
our jurisdiction.
We haven't had any interest, just an FYI, we haven't had any interest in the McCormick Ranch property. It's been very quiet, that strip right there, but the Wests have intimated that they anticipate to do something
Okay,
within a general reasonable timeframe.
okay.
So
And
with
there's,
Jason, I don't know if that means 3 years, 10 years, or never, so it's just.
I'm in with the West, not like blood somewhat, but, so I understand your comment there. We are involved with McCormick Ranch and one of their partners out of Utah for their stuff. Is on the west
On
side.
the west side.
Yes,
of
on their,
Fairgrounds. Okay.
whatever, 30 acres that they have or whatever they
Okay.
have. So that is the one I'm talking
Well, I
about.
can just tell you that a lot of them, their agricultural claim has been taken away, and their taxes are a lot different from what they were
Okay.
beginning of last year.
Even though they don't have the donkey out there anymore? No, that's the comment from Maxie,
That's
my cousin. She
very
says,
much so.
Keep a donkey out there and it'll be okay.
Braden, what name did you have for that roadway?
If the armory is involved, it's gotta be Tubby Trail.
Oh, well, let's all hope then. Close your eyes and raise your hand.
All right,
No.
On the public record, but good on you.
you'll love it.
Ned Way?
He was pushing it. The other part to that, with that development, I should bring up is that I've had conversations, well, I did with Jaglowski while he was here, I did with Tubby, and I don't know if I ever talked to you, Hal, maybe I've mentioned it, is that along with the road going through there, we also have the water line that the county owns, it's in Fairgrounds Road. However, there's gonna need to be water connected to serve those properties on the west side and be able to connect onto the city, both sides, to get the fire flow and the demand. So that section that's in Fairgrounds Road, the developer would put the valving in or a double check or whatever needed to happen. And we would ask that the county would look at, and we've already, when we did the sewer, we looked at it, it's a ductile iron line, it's in good shape, the points that we got to be able to take that line into the city of Pocatello's jurisdiction, that portion just in the Fairgrounds Road. And then where it would come up through the fairgrounds that we're saying and bypass, the road other would bypass around, put the valve unit and in right there so that your meter, the 6-inch meter up above, would still serve the fairgrounds and everything. That would eliminate redundancy and other utilities in there and still do that. But that section, we would ask that we could connect to that and incorporate that actually into the city of Pocatello system. Once the developers bring us the water model and so forth and confirm what we're saying about the fire flows on both ends and connect them. So that wasn't on the list, but it has to do with fairgrounds and the name and making all this development, again, as we talked about, mesh in and communicate well to each other so that we don't have a debacle somewhere else. That's all I had, unless there's other questions from.
I think we coordinate the names back and forth on both sides of the road, of the Venture Way
Okay.
and stuff too. I mean,
And then I would push with Ken Pappy and Portland Development with Fairgrounds. So they're fully aware, and again, they had some other thoughts, but plans have changed,
Have they proposed any names for the north side by chance?
No. They talked about Gold Star, but it really doesn't fit with you guys' desire, so I'd like to just pick a name and tell Ken, this is what we'd like to do, and make something, maybe incorporate the wellness center and all that there, kind of with their trails, what they're trying to do. But, so we just have one road instead of at an intersection, try to get away from different names just on side, the same road, different names,
yeah. Okay.
Okay? I really appreciate everybody's time and putting this together. We'll get these on individual and move forward with them.
Great. Anybody else have comments, questions?
Just a comment real quick. Our office greatly appreciates working with all of these men. They make life pretty easy when we have conversation and things that we need to resolve. City of Pocatello is a great jurisdiction to work with.
Thank you, Al.
Unless you want to put a youth center across the street.
No comment.
That when we do, our legal keeps asking so that we can officially vacate that. We just need to get that easement, or the commissioners, as we know that letter, that the easement will be placed.
So while you're here, I have the easement.
Okay.
If I have them formally read it, Brian reviews it, they sign it, and
We
once it comes
vacate
to
it.
you, then you're done.
Then we take the legal, we do the ordinance, we vacate it, and it's done.
I will be on the work session a week from today, and they will then potentially sign it that day or have it for signature the following Tuesday, and I'll send it to you.
If that's the case, then I will work with our legal and see if I can get it on, I think it's February 2nd meeting.
Okay?
That would be our next meeting, we'd get it on and get that ordinance read.
All right, we'll be done then.
Yep.
Well, I'll just get it in front of them for signature, and then I'll send it to you with signature in place, and we won't have to
And then we
do
won't
any more back and
record,
forth.
we won't record the easement until the vacation's done so that it's in order.
Correct?
And I'll just let you know on public record that we did purchase a facility this morning. Park Price Building
Oh,
is
That'll
Bannock County property.
that'll be good, because it's,
That is where our youth center's going.
oh, I think that's good. Sitting, better than sitting vacant and
Yep.
across, right through the main part of town, to make it look nice.
Yep.
12 city lots is what we purchased.
Okay.
All 12 city lots.
So not the
You did
Les Schwab,
No, not on
No,
the east.
everything on that side's already been sold.
okay. Oh, so the brand new building, the office building,
The office building.
on the west side.
The showroom and stuff.
The showroom, the
Park Price.
park, whatever
Yeah.
the last one was.
Oldsmobile Pontiac.
Okay.
Da-da-da-da-da from back
I
in the
thought
day.
you meaning the
It's-
shop across.
It's kind of the L shape.
Robert Allen.
Yeah, Robert Allen.
Okay,
Nice.
perfect.
When we do get the piece that goes back over towards the Sterling building.
Yep.
Sweet, okay,
Yep.
even better.
That's, signed the papers. Jason took a check over today, before noon.
Sounds good.
Check is in the.
Did you use ARPA funds for that, or?
Some, some, and then we had a grant through the
From the
state
state.
Cool.
That's
for
good.
the youth.
No, it's well needed. Anything we can do for our youth in this climate is great.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And look at that, we got done so you can buy us lunch.
Yeah, just in time for us to go in another meeting.
All right. Guys have a great day.
See you. Thanks, Commissioners.
Where you
Thanks,
going?
Al. Kristen.
What meeting you got next?
Thanks. Have a good day.
See ya.
12 o'clock. All right.
What, talking about the calendar, I forgot this
I
was. on
forgot too, I made a note in here to ask if we were gonna have another meeting.
We're due about 1:30. All right,
Are we in executive?
let's
session?
go ahead and go into executive session if you would, please.
What's our code? Mr. Chair, make a motion that we enter into executive session under Idaho Code 74-2061A regarding personnel with potential action following the adjournment.
Commissioner Moser,
Yes.
Commissioner Huff.